Okay, so we're going to take a look at how to do some basic animation in Photoshop. So I've got Photoshop open here. I'm just going to make a new file. And in terms of my pixels, because I'm going to make an animated GIF, I want to work in pixels. I'm going to make this 800 width and 600 height. I'm going to leave my resolution at 300, and my color mode, obviously because this is an animation, is going to stay in RGB. And I'm just going to call this animation practice. And OK. Alright, so we've got our basic artboard like we would normally have. When we're working with animation, we need to open another window. So if we go up to Window and Animation, it's going to give us this animation window down at the bottom. And right now it's set to frame animation. Sometimes by default when you open it up, it'll be set to having a timeline. So it's going to show me frame by frame what's happening in my animation. If I click this button here, that's going to bring me to the different setting where I'm going to actually be able to see everything in terms of a timeline. Obviously I can't see anything at this point because I don't have anything set in my animation. For what we're going to work on, I'm going to go back to frame by frame animation. We also have a flyout menu right here that gives us a lot of different options within our animation palette, as well as some default options down at the bottom here that we'll use today. So I'm just going to look at something very, very simple, basic movement of a very simple image, trying to resize it over a series of 3 or 4 frames. So I'm going to place an image on my artboard. I'm going to use Panther. I'm going to place that in. And I'm going to get rid of that yellow background actually, so I'm going to just select the color range. I'm going to go in and select that, and then I'm going to press delete, and I've got to rasterize this first. Delete that and deselect. So now I've got my panther that I can resize here. So all I'm going to try to do is start having my panther pretty small and try to make it larger and then shrink down again. Very simple. So we can see now that I've got one frame where I can actually see my panther, and whatever is visible on this side, whatever layers are visible in this time frame, is what I'm going to see at that point in time in my animation. So this is how I'm going to start with my small panther. I'm going to make a new frame because in the next frame I want to make him a little bit larger. So I want him to look like he's kind of growing and sort of flashing larger and then shrinking again. So to make a new frame, I could go to my flyout menu and go to New Frame. Or conversely, I could also click the little peeling post-it just like we would make a new layer over here to make a new frame. Alright, so in frame 1, when I'm selected on that, whatever is visible, that is what I see. I'm going to click on frame 2 and I'm going to make some changes here. So if I were just to resize this layer, it would actually change it by default on frame 1 as well. I don't want to do that. It's automatically given me a new layer that's called frame 2. I want to copy this panther, move it over to frame 2, and then adjust it the way I want to. So I'm just going to select this guy, and I'm going to copy him, Command-C, I'm going to go Command-V, and I'm going to bring him in here. I'm going to resize the panther, and I'm keeping the other one underneath, just so I can sort of see it for now in relation to it to see the size that I want, and I'm going to press Enter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, on this frame, I'm on frame 2, I want to see this layer, and I don't want to see this one. I'm going to go back to frame 1. I don't want to see this layer in frame 1. I want to only see this one. Okay, so next I'm going to make a new layer, and it's going to give me a new frame layer as well. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to copy this guy, and there's a variety of ways we could do this. I could also duplicate my layers and do it that way as well. And I'm going to paste him in there. I'm going to make him even larger. Press Enter. And on frame, I'm going to go back, fix all my frames here. Frame 1, I want to see the small one. Frame 2, it's getting a little bigger. Frame 3, I don't want to see this. I want to see that one. So if I click them quickly, I can sort of see what's happening here. Along the bottom, I can see how much time each of these frames is going to be played for. So I can actually adjust that by having no delay or up to 10 seconds, and you can change that, customize it as well. And this tells me how many times it's going to play. So I'm going to have it loop forever, and we're just going to see what we got here. Fascinating. All right, I could do the exact same thing, add a few more frames, and then just select these layers so it actually got smaller as well if I wanted it to only play once and get larger and shrink down. But this is sort of like the very basics of trying to use just resizing and layer by layer, frame by frame to create something very, very simple in terms of an animation.